Hey guys, what's good? Welcome back to JDB Selects. It's fair to say round 18 may have been one of the most messier rounds of the season so far, but it was certainly one of the most entertaining and exciting. Plenty of golden point games, nail-biting finishes, even if the quality of football didn't quite match the scorelines. Hopefully round 19 can deliver some similar results across just the 5 games this week as we are ramping up towards Origin Game 3. But before we look at my tips and predictions for round 19, let's as always look back at last week. But just before we do that, I just wanted to make a big shout out to our partners at SpinBet. We've partnered with SpinBet this season to put on some awesome boosted NRL odds. We've hit some big boosts this season too with the Origin multi for Game 2. We've hit our trifecta for 2 out of the 3 weeks at like between $5 and $9 odds. So some really, really great value there. If you do want to support me, please check out SpinBet. It is very important though that you sign up using the link in the video description or through that QR code, as that links you back to me, and that's really, really important in the long run. So if you do want to check out SpinBet, please do. Obviously gamble responsibly. It's all a bit of fun, but man, is it fun. Alright, looking at last week's results, a fairly good week. I feel like I haven't had too many 6 out of 8s this season, so we'll certainly take that. The Sharkies were, who knows, they were put on the pump early and the Titans just wanted it more. And then obviously Knights fans have been giving it to me in the comments for a few weeks now, and I'll happily take my licks again. The Raiders unable to get past the Knights at home. So a really good week for the channel last week, 6 out of 8. We'll always take those, but again, always striving for that perfect round. Alright, and speaking of perfect rounds, there were 2 people last week who pulled off the elusive 8 out of 8, so shout out to you guys. And if we take a look at the tipping comp ladder, there has been a change at the top with Cornish who are taking back top spot from Manawatu Turbo. These two have obviously been battling it out for 18 weeks basically, and it's been going back and forth. It's been really, really fun to watch. Still plenty of people in play still, although they are starting to build a bit of a lead from the top 10. So congrats to you, Cornishua. Congrats to you, Manawatu Turbo. Big ups to everyone in the top 20, and good luck with your tips this week. Let's get stuck into my tips and predictions for round 19. Alright, round 19 gets underway on Thursday night. We have the Bennett Bowl. That's right, the 6th place Dolphins taking on the 13th placed South Sydney Rabbitohs at KO Stadium. Obviously Bennett, the current head coach for the Dolphins, up against the side he will be coaching in 2025. Alright, starting first with the Finns, they will be fresh off the bye in round 18 and will want to make amends for a disappointing 26-6 point loss to the Dragons. The Dolphins, they lost Jeremy Marshall-King after about 20 minutes, and it just proved how important he is to that side's success. It was a really, really funny game. I think there was only a try in the 39th minute of the first half, and then the Dragons just pulled away late. The Dolphins couldn't hang with them. A strange game all around. I'm not sure how to read into it, but I think they'll be better for it, having spent the week on the sidelines last week. And as for teams list, Jeremy Marshall-King, he will require surgery for that foot fracture, so we'll obviously be racing against the clock to return this season. Hamiso Tabuai-Fido, he will be part of the Queensland Maroons camp, so will not play this weekend, and Jack Bostock may still also be sidelined with concussion following that knockout a week prior. Alright, and as for the Rabbitohs, their winning streak has continued, beating the Parramatta Eels 32 points to 16. Latrell, man, he continued his Origin form, combining seamlessly with Cody Walker down that right edge and almost toying with the Eels' defence. Both Cam Murray and Keon Kolombatangi were really, really strong through the middle of the field, but despite all of the attacking brilliance of Whiten, Walker and Latrell, it's really been their incredible turnaround in defence that's seen them go on this 5-game streak. And in terms of teams list for the Bunnies, obviously Latrell is now out of Origin, so will not be playing for the Rabbitohs this week either. Cam Murray, he is part of the Origin camp for New South Wales, so is unavailable this week. Tavita Totola and Saliva Havili are both looking to return from injury, either this week or next. Alright, looking at the 2 sides head-to-head, the Dolphins, they are yet to beat the Rabbitohs, losing their lone meeting last year, 36 points to 14. The live odds currently have the Dolphins at $1.80 favourites and the Bunnies coming back at $2.05. Super close this game, and the points line reflects that, obviously at 1.5 points. Very interesting game this. Obviously both teams without star fullbacks and I guess some of their better players. But I do think the Dolphins will bounce back after the bye. I think being at home is a big advantage. They obviously love playing in Queensland. I know the Bunnies have been on a bit of a tear lately, but that has sort of been mainly, or at least in my opinion, majority down to Latrell Mitchell and his impact on that side. So with him being out, Cam Murray being out, and a few middle forwards potentially still unavailable, I do think a fully rested Dolphins side can get it done by 1 to 12 points. So that's the tip for me, Dolphins 1 to 12. All right, moving now to just 2 games on Friday this week. Starting first with the 4th placed Cronulla Sharks taking on the 17th placed West Tigers at PointsBet Stadium. All right, starting first with the Sharks, their slide has continued, losing 5 of their last 6 games now, unable to beat the Gold Coast Titans at Coffs Harbour, 20 points to 16. The Sharks needed to start fast, but they were put under pressure early and found themselves once again chasing the game, exacerbated by Sifa Talakai being sin-binned. They're clearly a side down on luck and confidence, even crossing the line 3 times in that first half, but still headed into the shed scoreless. In terms of teams list for the Sharks this week, Sione Katoa is expected to return from his concussion-forced absence. Sifa Talakai, though, is facing a 1-match ban for his careless high tackle on Sam Verrills. Alright, and as for the Tigers, despite almost scoring 30 points, the Tigers couldn't record their 5th win of the season, losing to the Storm 40 points to 28. West, they looked good early and they were up for the contest physically, but eventually succumbed to the speed and class of the Storm. Despite laying on some impressive tries of their own and having almost 55% of possession, it was their 68% completion rate and 13 errors that really let them down. In terms of teams list for the Tigers this week, Alex Twal is still looking to overcome those concussion symptoms that have kept him sidelined since round 14. A few massive ins potentially expected for the Tigers this week too, with Stafford Toa, Junior Tupou and Isaiah Papali'i all a good chance of returning as well. Alright, looking at the 2 sides head-to-head, the Tigers, they upset the Sharks earlier this season in a pretty one-sided affair too, 32 points to 6. The Sharks, though, they have won 10 of the last 12 meetings, and the Tigers, they haven't beaten the Sharks at PointsBet since 2014. Take a look at the live odds thanks to our friends at SpinBet. The Sharks, massive favourites at $1.22, with the Tigers coming back at $4.33. The line is currently 12.5 points. Fairly straightforward one for me. I know the Tigers did beat the Sharks earlier this season, but I don't see it happening twice in one season. The Sharks, they are beyond desperate for a win now, and this is the perfect redemption sort of arc for them. Their forward pack should be far too strong. If they can get a bit out of their halves, then they should be, on paper, or at least on form this season, the better side, and should get the win at home by 1 to 12 points. Alright, moving now to just the first of 2 games on the Super Saturday this week. Starting first with the 15th placed Gold Coast Titans taking on the 16th placed Parramatta Eels at Cbus Super Stadium. Alright, starting first with the Titans, they backed up their record-breaking win over the Warriors with a gutsy 20 to 16 point win over the Sharks at Coffs Harbour. The Titans had all the ball in the opening 20 minutes, including a 1-man advantage, but despite only scoring 12 points in that first 40, it was the defence that really won them that game, spoiling what looked to be at least 3 certain Cronulla tries. Kieran Foran continues to defy time and was exceptional early, as was Keanu Kenny, who was involved in everything at both ends of the field. But for me, the standouts were the likes of Aaron Clark, Chris Randall and Keenan Palacia, who really took it to the Sharks' sizable and formidable forward pack. Again, I said it after the Warriors game, and I'll say it again, a really, really strong team performance, which is a really, really good sign for the Titans. Alright, in terms of teams list as well, AJ Brimson, he was a late scratching last week, but should be fit to play this week. Harley Smith-Shields, Tony Francis, Phil Sami, Jaden Campbell and Khalees Haas are all listed to be available for selection this week as well. And as for the poor old Eels, their record against the Rabbitohs continued, losing 32 points to 16. Gutherson was once again extremely reliable at the back and got through a ton of work and made plenty of meters, but he really has seemed to have lost his X factor, or at least his speed on attack. Moses and Brown, they were also kept really, really quiet, hardly getting any good ball on attack through some really silly unforced errors and what seemed like almost confusion and a really unorganised side. In terms of teams list for Parramatta, big out, obviously Mitchell Moses will take part in Origin Game 3. That does mean he is unavailable this week. Junior Paulo also suffered a Liz Frank injury and is looking at 8 to 10 weeks potentially, so he will likely miss the remainder of the season. Looking at the 2 sides head-to-head, the Eels, they have won 8 of the last 9 games against the Titans. The Titans also haven't beaten the Eels at Cbus since 2017. Well, I do think all of that changes this week, so I am going to take the Titans 1 to 12. I think given the outs of Moses and Paulo, I really do think the Titans can keep this run going. I think on paper they are certainly the more informed side and full of confidence after two really impressive team performances. And I think they can really capitalize on the Eels without the likes of Moses and Polo. So for me, Titans 1-12. All right, moving now to the final game of a very short Super Saturday. We have the 11th placed Brisbane Broncos taking on the 10th placed St. George Illawarra Dragons at Suncorp Stadium. All right, starting first with the Broncos, their losing streak has extended past 50 days now. Unable to beat the Panthers at home, 14 points to 6. I thought the Broncos looked pretty good in that first half and they were right in the grind, but they certainly fell apart when Jock Madden went down with that hamstring injury, which sort of forced Walsh to do too much and it just didn't work. In saying that though, they were also outclassed through the middle and outmuscled with Haas, Carrigan and Jensen, making far less meters than you'd expect. And in terms of teams list for the Broncos this week, Jock Madden is looking at an extended stint on the sideline with that hamstring injury. Katoni Staggs and Jordan Ricky, though, they are both back on deck this week. And Kevy Walters did say that Adam Reynolds, he is eyeing a return in either round 22 or round 23, and it obviously cannot come soon enough for the Broncos. Right, as for the Dragons, they have now conceded over 100 points to the Roosters this season, getting blown away late, 42 points to 12. Now this might be kind of controversial, but I thought the Saints didn't play that bad, and they started pretty well, especially considering the occasion of obviously Jared Warrior-Hargreaves breaking the Roosters record. But let's be honest, no side was going to beat the Roosters that day. It was inevitable that the Roosters was going to roll on and blow whoever they were playing away. It just so happened that the Dragons had to be the team. So I'm not worried about the performance from the Dragons. I'm really not. There was obviously some mistakes, some things they can improve, no doubt. But at the end of the day, that's one of those games you were doomed from the start. And in terms of teams list for the Dragon, Raymond Faitala-Mariner and Matt Fige are both under injury clouds this week. Looking at the two sides head-to-head, the Dragons, they have won 6 of the last 8 meetings. The Broncos, though, they have a strong record against the Dragons at Suncorp, winning 12 of their last 15 games. Man, this is a very tricky game. You've got a lot of players missing from both sides through Origin, and in key positions too, especially for the Dragons and the Broncos. But I'm going to be brave and take the Dragons 1-12. I think the Broncos are just in a bit of a hole, and without their star players to pull them out, I really do think they'll struggle, especially now they'll be looking for another backup half. I think the Dragons have shown a lot more so far this season, especially defensively. I know they've set some big scores, but I really do like the signs from the Saints. So I'm going to take the Dragons in this one by 1-12 points. All right, in the final game of a very short round 19, as the 7th placed Manly Sea Eagles taking on the 9th placed Newcastle Knights at 4 Pines Park. Alright, starting first with Manly, the Sea Eagles managed to squeak past the Cowboys in Golden Point, 21 points to 20. Honestly, that was a very messy game from both teams, regularly giving away possession and bombing plenty of golden opportunities. The difference though, ultimately was Daly Cherry Evans once again, obviously icing yet another Golden Point field goal. In terms of teams list for the Sea Eagles this week, DCE will be out through Origin Game 3. Hamoli Olakawatu has been dropped but is still part of the camp, so will play this weekend. Tolu Kola, though, is facing a stint on the sidelines after picking up an MCL injury. Ben Trebojevic, Corey Riddell and Taniela Paseka are all in doubt with a range of injuries which will be leaving Manly pretty short. And as for the Knights, they welcomed Kalen Ponga back with a win, surviving a late scare from the Canberra Raiders, 16 points to 12. Dane Gagai was back at his best, bagging a try-double and even earning a return to the Origin Arena for Game 3, as did Kalen Ponga, who just hit the ground running. I thought defensively the Knights did an outstanding job to keep turning away the Raiders once they'd survived that early onslaught from Tapani and Papali'i. Knights fans, they have given me plenty of grief in the comments for weeks now, which obviously in hindsight is completely warranted, and I'm not too proud to admit that I made a mistake. In terms of teams list for the Knights, Kalen Ponga, Dane Gagai and Bradman Best are all part of Origin this week, so we'll be watching this one from the sidelines. Looking at the two sides head to head, it's been fairly even in recent times, even playing to a draw back in 2023. Manly, though, they have a great record at Brookie against the Knights, winning 18 of the last 22 games at the ground. But in saying that, though, the Knights, they have won 2 of the last 4. And taking a quick look at the live odds too, the Sea Eagles are currently $1.41 favourites, with the Knights coming back at $2.90. The line is currently 7.5 points. Alright Knights fans, I've seen the comments. I've seen them week after week. You never tip the Knights. Why don't you tip the Knights? And guess what? They've won. So let's see if I'm a curse, because I am going to take the Knights here by 1 to 12 points. I think the Sea Eagles looked very, very ordinary last time out when DCE was in Origin camp. And the Knights' defense, to their credit, has been probably their standout this season. They've certainly lacked a lot of points. They haven't even cracked the 300 mark yet. But I do think the Knights can continue their run of form. So let's just do it. Newcastle, 1 to 12. Alright, bang, just like that, we're done for another very short week. Thank you as always for watching. As always, leave a like on the video, hit that subscribe button, leave your tips and predictions in the comment, sign up to our free Discord, yada yada yada, you know the drill, and I'll see you in the next one.